Marketer of the Day, episode 560, The Salesman Who Doesn't Sell. Rank, convert, and tweak your traffic through smart content marketing strategies with Brian Greenberg.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Marketer of the Day podcast. We're chatting with Brian Greenberg, and he's been called the salesman who doesn't sell. He's a multifaceted entrepreneur, and he believes in building integrity into everything he does, operating a business for the long term with a strong reputation and a commitment to exceptional customer service. And Brian has founded businesses in e-commerce and marketing and financial services. He's generated over $50 million in revenue from his businesses and collected over 10,000 reviews and testimonials from customers. And he's been named one of the most creative people in financial services. So we're going to hear a lot about what Brian is all about, what he has to say. Glad to be talking to you, Brian.
Hey, thanks for having me on, Robert.
Well, heck yeah. So as far as your specialty, your bread and butter, what would you say it is that you do best?
You know, I think what I do best is I bring customers to my websites. I've made a living off of ranking organically on Google, and I've done it for a very long time. Before they came out with a lot of these algorithm updates and after. And the other thing I'm very good at is converting visitors when they get to the website and converting them with a very long sales process. So passive selling, if you will.
Okay, great. So when you're talking about ranking in search engines and doing really great in SEO, what kind of websites are we talking about? What kind of niches, or are we just saying all over the place?
Well, in the past, I've been all over the place. I actually ran an internet marketing consulting firm that specialized in organic SEO. Today, I run an online insurance agency called True Blue Life Insurance. One of the reasons why I kind of went into that is I had a little background in insurance, but also life insurance is one of the most competitive niches online that you can possibly get into. The AdWords pay-per-click in the life insurance market is anywhere from $30 to $80. So if I could actually rank for anything on the internet, life insurance is actually a pretty good pick. It's very profitable.
Awesome. So it sounds like an appropriate challenge for you, right? Why go with something easy like internet marketing or weight loss? Go for the hardest of the hard stuff, right?
It is. I find myself playing with a lot of big guys with a lot of funding, although I'm holding my own, Robert.
Well, great. And so when you're doing those things like, getting the ads dialed in, getting those SEO rankings, I mean, where's the starting point? It seems like a big nut to crack.
Well, first you need to have a good website, but the most important thing, which has been true for a long time, are links. So I spend a lot of my time, getting the most valuable links possible. So it seems to be one of the, content number 2, links number 1, in my opinion. So I think after 2012, when Google came out with their Penguin and Panda updates, you have to do real company stuff now. I don't know if you know Will Reynolds from Sear Interactive. After 2012, he said, look, you have to do RCS, real company stuff. And he actually had a profanity at the end of that. But the point being is, if it's not something a real company would do, don't do it. So I focus my energy on writing, valuable content, doing PR, writing a book, to get links to my website so I could compete with the big guys.
Okay, so with all that stuff, with like you said, the PR and the book, I mean, where do you begin getting those links? Is it a matter of things like guest blog posting or getting like the LinkedIn stuff set up or the social media? I mean, as far as what real company stuff is, where's the starting point on that?
I love to write valuable articles. So I kind of take an approach where I write a very well-written article and I pitch it to publications. Now, there's a couple steps to do that. Now, first, when you write an article, it's important to have a number in it. So the top 5 this or the top 10 this. Online publications love that. It's like catnip to them, okay? The next is get a good headline for the article, and I use a service called headlines.sharethrough.com. It's a free service. I don't even know why it's free, but it's incredible. I write a real nice article. Now, after I write the article, I actually hire a freelancer. I have a lot of freelancers that I work with. I prefer going to Upwork.com and posting a PR project. I say, look, this is the article I built. I'm looking to spend, $500. I want to get 10 pickups from high-quality blogs that'll link back to me. And that's how I contract it. And they use their lists. There's a lot of PR guys out there you can get for a lot less money than it used to be. and it's a great way to build links. That's one way I do it.
Interesting. So I had no idea this was even an option for people. So what you're saying is you, excuse me, you write this article, you say that you put like top 5 this or top 10 that in the headlines. You use headlines.sharethrough.com. But then after you've written this article and made it perfect, instead of using a piece of software or instead of doing the marketing yourself, you go on Upwork where these PR guys are hanging out and they have lists and they'll pick it up and they'll market your blog post, your article to all these other publications for $500 or so.
Absolutely, $500 to $1,000. But what I like to get them, I like to have them guarantee me a certain amount of links. So if I'm going to pay them $1,000, I want them to get me 10 links. Now, 10 high quality links. And just to be clear, Robert, I don't want to get a link that's in the content of the article. I actually want to get the author. So at the bottom of the articles, they have who wrote it. Brian Greenberg's the author. Here's a link to his website. Sometimes I can get a link to 2 websites. Those are the links I'm after. And yeah, they already have lists. They have muck rack lists. They have Envision lists. That's what they do. So it's definitely a secret way to do it. And you're going to get links that are far more valuable than going out and trying to get guest blog posts all day long.
Well, that is super cool. That's a nice shortcut. And that might be second nature to you, but for me, that's really outside the box thinking. And so as far as these pickups on these sites, do you have any sort of places to brag about? Have you been picked up on like a Forbes or an Inc. or places like that?
Yeah, I've been picked up on Forbes and Inc. and Entrepreneur and Huffington Post. I'm a contributor for Dun & Bradstreet. So yeah, it's the more places that you get. And what I like to do is I recommend when you start this, you do a press page on your website. So you kind of build up a body of work. That way you could actually pitch yourself after you get going to be a contributor at some of these places. Once you're a contributor, you're kind of in, right? As long as you keep giving them some articles, you're going to keep getting these incredibly valuable links. And these days, Robert, it doesn't take that many links to get really exceptional rankings on Google. I happen to be in a very competitive niche, so I need a lot, although most people do not need that many. So if you're doing it this way and you're getting links from these online publications, which in my opinion are the most valuable, I value a link in entrepreneur.com at about 5,000, maybe 10,000, because they actually bring in value, day after day in these increased rankings.
I love it. So you're going for, in a way, you're going for quality over quantity. But now I'm curious about when you say that it sounds like you do this pretty often, and you say that once you have some of these relationships built with these sites, then they want you to resubmit new things every so often. So, how often are we talking about when you make this article that you market out? Are we talking, do you do this every day, every week, every month? How frequent?
The maximum I can do is 4 a month, a good article a week. And even if I'm outsourcing, so I'll absolutely try to, I'll give the topics and I'll give it to a writer. And I'll find writers on sites like Upwork. I tried sites like iWriter, but you always want to find a good content writer. Now, the thing is, though, after they write the article, I have to edit it. And I have to edit it, a lot, because a lot of these publications, they want it to be coming from an expert's point of view. So I got to make sure that I'm putting I pronouns in there. I'm using specific examples to my experience. If you do that and you're using, I've done this, it works for me, and this is what I recommend you do. These are extremely valuable article topics that these publications, they want to give to their users and their visitors. And furthermore, Robert, because, if you build up a social presence or you have an email list, right, or if you have a social media following on Twitter or Facebook, every time you do an article, they want you to promote the article. So on your LinkedIn, your Facebook, your Twitter, your email list, hey, I did this article on entrepreneur.com. For them, it's wonderful because it gets them traffic. It gets them traffic to that article. It gets them traffic to their website. That's how they make money. So the more followers, the bigger list that you build, the more it's better. It's kind of like a wheel that kind of spins on itself and drives even more for you.
Yeah, that is super cool that they expect you to promote your own stuff, but it's in everyone's best interest. It's a win-win. So it's like you have your own following, and then you make this content, you market it out, you get traffic from that, you build your list even bigger, and then you promote the things that you put out, and then you promote an article again, you get some more traffic, build your list even bigger, use that to help add the extra traffic juice to what you put out. I mean, this sounds like a really great strategy. So you put out about one of these per week just to make the math simple. And then as far as, so you say that you hire a writer first to create that rough draft of the article, and then you go in and edit it a lot to make it your own and make it really pop?
Yeah, most of the time, yes. Look, if I write an article, it's going to take me, at least a day, maybe 2 days to get that article out. A lot of people think, oh, you can pump out an article in 20 minutes. It's just not true. If you're going to write quality stuff, it's going to take you a little while. Now, I'm running a few businesses here, so, the time that I have is a little limited. So, I could write an article myself fine, but if I want to put out for a month, I'm going to need some help. And for that, I have to hire some writers, and then, I wouldn't let it go out with I like to edit it myself, but once you do that, it saves you a tremendous amount of time to get people to actually write, the outline or the basic format of the whole article.
Okay, great. And not to get all your secrets from you, but how long of an article are we talking? Like 2,000 words or so, or a different length?
Different length, 1,000 words. So most of these publications, they want it between 900 and 1,100 words. So yeah, if I'm doing something on my website, so, Robert, one of the great things is, look, if you get all these links, you're going to start ranking higher in the search engines. The question is for what, right? So the more links you get, the higher authority your website is. So I'm kind of at the point now where if I put up a new piece of content, it's going to rank real well. All right. If I give it a month, it's probably going to be on the first page in Google, especially if it's not that competitive. So, you're building, one part of it is building these links. The second part of it is creating content on your website to rank for, right? So on those, I like long form content. On those type of pieces of content, yeah, you want to do, 1,500 to 2,000 words. Or for the articles, just 1,000. Okay,
fair enough. I mean, that sounds like, it's easier and it's harder, right? It's like it's easier in the sense that when you make those additional passes, you only have so far to go start to finish. But then there's that Abraham Lincoln adage of if I had more time to send you a letter, I have written you a shorter one, right? So it's like better and it's worse. Like you have to fit more into that sort of condensed space, since those are the rules that you're playing by. And so as you're kind of laying out the strategy here, who is this for exactly? Should everyone be doing this, or companies of a certain size, or who's the strategy for?
I think it's for pretty much everybody. Now, let's say there's a lot of people in industries that may not be able to write something that's going to spark the interest of a major publication. That happens. Now, I think one way to get around that I've been using is Google surveys. So whatever business you're in, Google surveys is this incredible platform that barely any people know about, but it costs $1 to give a 10-question survey, and you can target people all over the U.S. So I don't know, let's say you have a barber or something like that. So you might run a survey that says, what's your favorite, what haircut do you have, right? And you could list it and they have them choose it, and then boom, you have all this, interesting information, right? So you put that in an article. And my goodness, publications love that type of stuff. So I think whether you're a plumber, whatever it could be, you can ask a survey, collect it, then write the article, and then, my goodness, publications will eat that up.
That is fantastic. I had no idea that existed. Go figure, right? Google, it seems like every couple months there's some other service that they have that we had no idea about. So Google surveys, for $1, you can ask 10 questions of anyone in the U.S. and just generate your own data. You don't have to go and grab something from 2006 off some tired old other article, right?
Right. And not only that, so let's say you do the survey and you put it on your website as well. You do the long form on your website, maybe an infographic. Then you're actually going to get the benefit of other people writing articles and using your website as a reference. Then you got even more links.
That is super cool. This is major outside the box thinking for me. And so, yeah, so dang. So we should all be writing these articles and not just leaving them on our website to not get seen, but market them out and use them in these ways to make them unique and interesting. And before we hopped on this call here today, you said that you're really good at also, in addition to ranking, you're also good at getting reviews for businesses. So can you unpack that a little bit?
Absolutely. Look, so many people just don't ask for reviews because they don't know the value, I think. Look, if I get a review that I can post on my own website, I value it at about $150. And I value it at about $25 each year after that because it stays there. But if I also get a review on, say, Yelp or the Better Business Bureau or Google Business, I value those at about $250 a piece. They increase the conversion rate of your businesses. What we found is that the last thing somebody will do before they actually do business with you is they like to check your references. But these days, they'll actually go online. They'll actually type your name, your company, followed by reviews or complaints. Now, depending what shows up there, can tip them into a sale. So the number one thing to do for reviews is ask. And the time to ask is at the end when you deliver the service and you ask them a simple question. Are you happy? Are you satisfied? If the answer is yes, you say, great, can I send you an email with our feedback form? Now, Robert, what I like to do is I use ActiveCampaign to send all my email stuff. I have them do a star rating, and I like to collect it internally first. Now, the reason why I do that is because if they are unhappy, I have the ability to address it or not even post it on my website. But I'm very particular to have stars and then also to collect comments. Now, when they give me a 5-star review, I automate it. I automatically send them another follow-up email saying, thank you so much for the review. Can you post the same review, the same comments on the Better Business Bureau and Google Business? And I'll give them the exact link for them to go to. They just click it, boom, they're right at the page where they enter in the review. If they're happy, they'll do it. And if I get a real satisfied customer, I'll get 3-4 reviews from them. And these are all things that I have monetary value, and they've absolutely increased the conversion rates on all my websites.
Fantastic. Well, a good lesson there is just it doesn't hurt to ask, and a lot of us need to be asking more. And I've heard of that strategies before where you sort of redirect them based on the good or the bad, right? If it's good, if it's 4 stars, 5 stars, great. Here's Yelp. Go ahead and paste the thing that you already said. If it's bad, let me address it and correct it for you. And what it reminds me of, back when I was in college, we had at the end of a semester, we had to write these sort of teacher evaluation forms and turn them into the department over the teacher's head. But I had this one teacher where every semester, the day before that day came, when we did the surveys the day before, he passed out surveys, but he didn't tell us that the surveys were just for him. And so what he ended up doing was, and it kind of worked out in his favor, because if people were really mad about his class, then they'd write this nasty review, but then it would just go to him. It wasn't going anywhere. And then it felt like the next day when it was time to send the real review, he would I could tell he read the reviews and would say some sort of rebuttal. Like he would give us some additional information to maybe soften the blow of some of those reviews. And then if everyone said great things, I mean, it's sort of like the practice session for me writing the real review. So it sort of worked out in his favor by having that little bit of a barrier, a buffer between him and the actual review that was being sent out. So it sounds like the same strategy here.
Yeah, that's funny, Robert. Yes, the buffer is key.
Well, cool.
Yeah, if you can address it.
Yeah. And it sounds like a lot of what we're talking about here are just these little tweaks, right? Some businesses out there might be saying, oh, we need to have good Yelp reviews. Let's just send everyone off to the page. But this small tweak is you put something in between. And some other businesses might say, oh, we have to crank out all this content, crank out these blog posts and post them on social media. No one will read it. But then you add this additional step of marketing it out. So maybe companies who are listening right now, maybe they're already doing these things or are thinking about these things, and they just need to add that unique twist to get that boost there in the marketplace. So far, just quick recap, we've talked about ranking your sites using organic content. We've talked about getting reviews. And then the last section before we wrap up here is I want to hear about your thoughts and comments about converting people on a web page, because you said that you are really great at being that salesman without selling. So people come to the web page and it's a lot of a smoother process to make that sale. So can you tell us about that?
Absolutely. Look, my goal is to get them through the whole sales process without talking to them if I possibly can. Now, for that, look, I get them into my funnel usually by giving them something. In my life insurance website, I let them run insurance quotes without any personal information. Most of my competitors require them to enter their name and email and phone, and then they're just bombarded. I don't do that. So I let them come right in, run all the quotes, get the information. You can give them anything. You can give them a white paper, a downloadable, a video. The point is you invoke the theory of reciprocity. All right. So you've given them something of value. Now, whether you're going after an email address or you're trying to sell something, you want to address all the questions they have. If you're selling a physical product, when will it be delivered? How much is the shipping? You don't want to hold things up. Just by me including tracking information, cut out like 30% of my phone calls for one of my businesses. So there's so many different things that you can do without extending the sales process. If they have questions, provide a video. If you don't think people are going to, tip over and do the sale, give them something, make it risk-free. Give them a 30-day money-back guarantee, a 7-day free trial, a light version, whatever it is. Do your best to get them in there and get them to complete it, without you having to extend the sales process and waste man hours and resources. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I think it does. I mean, it sounds like your thought process here is to what can you add to the system to smooth things over? So you're saying that you might, like you said, you might have that sales page, but then people are hesitating about buying something because they're not sure about the shipping time or they're not sure about the tracking. So that's something to add in there. Or after they buy, if people are worried about some issues, you throw in a quick video to sort of stop that before it becomes a big problem. So it seems to me like your thought process is to make the customer experience better and keep reiterating over it, and if there's a bump in the road, figure out how to smooth that over.
Absolutely. There's a tool that we use also. It's called user testing, usertesting.com. It costs $50 per kind of like recording, and you can get somebody to come in and you ask about, you could ask like 15 to 20 questions, and they record it and they talk the whole time while they're actually going through your website. And you can say, look, how do you feel about this? Would you feel comfortable purchasing here? And you'll actually find out all the different snags, all the different bottlenecks, all the different questions people will have. So, whether, it's a wonderful thing to do on a website, very inexpensive. Back in the day, you have to do focus groups, right? Which can cost, tens of thousands of dollars, hire a third party. These days, it's just called user testing. Usertesting.com, there's a few other ones. You'll find all the snags. And, I try to answer every question that they could possibly think of, every objection they could possibly think of, and then I give them all the reviews. I show them that my site's secure. I show them my privacy policies, everything. And if you could answer all the questions, you'd be incredibly surprised. People will not need to talk to you. They'll just run right through your website and buy. They'll take out their credit card.
Super cool. That user testing, I've heard about that before, but sadly I've forgotten to use it. So that's a timely reminder. I have a new quiz plugin coming out, so I need to go get a purchase over with user testing so they can log in and fumble around and see what makes sense and what doesn't make sense from an outside perspective. So that's really great. And so something that I'm curious about is, so you said that you have your insurance site where there's that calculator where people can submit information, but they don't enter any sort of lead capture details. So that way they get a better experience than the typical site they hop on. So, I mean, how did you come to a decision like that? Because I can understand the upside there of you saying, okay, I'm going to do something that stands out, that defies the norm. But then the trade-off on that is that, well, you don't get their details. So, I mean, what's the reasoning behind that?
Well, there's a few things. Look, if you collect it right up front and you're contacting them and they don't want to be contacted, you're running the risk of getting all these negative reviews, which a lot of my competitors get just because of that reason. So I wanted to differentiate myself, play myself as, the good guy in the insurance industry. I wanted to do it the honest, ethical, and transparent way. Now, just because I'm letting them in there doesn't mean that I'm losing them if they leave, right? I have the opportunity to do retargeting on them. I give them the option to email themselves the quotes, right? Or to call us or to live chat. And there's a lot of different ways for them to get a hold of us and for me not to lose them out of my funnel. The point is, I'm not wasting my time with the people who aren't very interested. Now, at the end of it, I actually get them to the whole point where they're filling out the whole life insurance application. And that makes it a lot easier for me. It makes it so I don't have to have so many resources or employees at my company. But yeah, that's, it's a trade-off, right? Some of my competitors, get a lot more leads, but they have to have a lot more agents and phone calls, and they're chasing people all the time, where I'm not.
That is super cool. I mean, yeah, so it's like you have less number of leads coming in the door, but they're a lot more qualified leads because they have made that extra effort to reach out to you instead of having no choice in the matter.
And they're happy that I contacted them, which is something that's unique. They never say, Brian, I'm upset that you called me, or I'm upset that you emailed me, because they requested it.
Awesome. Well, this is all good stuff, and I want to make sure that we get all your information and that we know, where to reach out and contact you and things like that. But before we get to that, I guess one final question here is, so it sounds like you're really good at this whole time management aspect, right? You've said that you work a lot and you manage all these companies, but you still find time to do these blog posts. You find time to show up on podcasts like we're at right now, and it sounds like you have a lot of fun with what you're doing. So, what's your secret? How do you find time for it and have the energy and the motivation? What do you do for that?
All my employees are remote employees, so they're working on their own time. I pay them all through freelancer websites. I have a couple here locally that are employees, but the majority are freelancers, and they're working remotely. Look, I have video meetings every week, and it's important to delegate. If you delegate them and you're transparent with the employees, it's a wonderful thing when your employees turn into assets. And I'm kind of at the point where I could let my development team start, putting new products out there, start testing, doing Google experiments, launching new products. And they say, then I can go out and I could, work on the marketing and the promotion and getting the traffic to the website.
Fantastic. Well, that sounds like the ideal lifestyle, where you have everyone else do the mechanical stuff and then you just add that fuel to the marketing fire. So, this has been just, I don't know if a treasure trove is the right term, but just this conversation has just been loaded with all kinds of great actions and tips people can take. So I'm sure people out there are thinking and saying to themselves, well, this Brian dude, he seems like a really smart guy. He's got it going on. I want to know about his websites, his projects, where to contact him. So what do you have for us today?
I wrote a book called The Salesman Who Doesn't Sell, a marketing guide to selling while you sleep. And I'm putting up a page for all of your users, Robert, on my personal website, brianjgreenberg.com/Robert Plank. It's going to have, obviously links to this podcast, but also a link to download the free audio version of my book. So I hope that anybody will just download it, take away all the information. I'm just in it to help people and do marketing. That's one of the reasons why I wrote the book, and the primary reason why I wrote the book. So if you have time, please go download that book for free.
Awesome. Well, that's very generous of you, and I like your thought process there, as far as you're just doing what you love, talking about things that are fun to you, and then the rest will work itself out, just because it's a numbers game. Enough people are hearing, some percentage will go and click and check it out. So I think everyone listening right now, if you got even the smallest morsel of a kernel of an idea, which I got a ton, so if you're listening and you don't have anything, I don't know what the heck you're doing, maybe listen to this again, but if you got all kinds of great ideas from this conversation like I did, then head on over right now to brianjgreenberg.com/Robert Plank. That's brianjgreenberg.com/Robert Plank to get those freebies, get that audio version, check out the salesman who doesn't sell, so that way you can up your game and don't just try the same old tired ideas that you've been doing or your competitors have been doing. Think outside the box, do something different. brianjgreenberg.com/Robert Plank. And thanks so much, Brian, for stopping by and sharing all this great stuff and being honest and open and giving us tons of ideas. I really appreciate it.
Hey, thanks for having me, Robert. Anytime.
Heck yeah. Thanks for listening to today's program. Start from the beginning or view past episodes at marketeroftheday.com/episodes.